How's it going? It's Adam Bongiovanni back here in another Thursday video for OnlineBookClub.org's viewing pleasure. Now today I'm going to be interviewing another author. She's actually a self-published author, social media expert, and an award-winning blogger, Jenn Herman. So I'll be hopping on with Jenn, talking to her about social media, how authors can improve their social media, and more. This woman, she knows her stuff, so I'm really excited to talk to her, and let's jump right into it. How's it going, everyone? I'm Adam Bongiovanni, and today I'm here with self-published author, social media expert, and award-winning blogger, Jenn Herman. Jenn, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited to be here. This is fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm just excited to talk to you because I think I know social media, but then I read your About Me section on your website, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know anything about social media. So I'm excited to pick your brain.
It's here to be picked. I'm ready.
Fantastic. Also, a side note, I did text someone before you and I got on call, and I thought I put the right number into my phone, and it was a completely different person. I said, hey Jen, you ready to start the interview? And they said, hey, you have the wrong number. So just, that's a complete side note. I was talking to some random person somewhere in America before I got the right number for you.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
It was
Why don't you start texting you back while we're on this call too?
We're gonna fall in love and just have a wonderful life together because of my mishap. Yeah, you never know. All right, so let's get right into you as an author, and we'll go from there. How many books do you currently have out there in the world?
So I've self-published 3 books.
Oh, wow.
And then I also published Instagram for Business for Dummies, which is part of the Dummies series through Wiley,
wow,
the
okay.
publishing house. So I've got a few of them out there.
That's really impressive, though. Like, good for you.
Thanks.
No
yeah,
problem.
they weren't, well, I did the self-published ones were a lot easier than, like, the house-published ones.
I'm sure.
Not so sure I'd want to go through that again, to be completely honest.
I've heard...
Self-publishing is
right?
kind of like, I do what I want on my own terms, you know? It's a little easier.
I've heard nothing but, like, just talking to authors on our live shows, I've heard nothing but, like, oh, well, the publishing process. And as a reader, I'm like, okay, this is really separating me from ever wanting to write a book, because I've heard nothing but horror stories about, like, the publishing process. But if you killed it with self-publishing, I'd say that's the route to go. And I feel like with anything in life, even like business, when you have the control, it just, I feel like you live and die by your own, like, what you choose to do. So it's probably a little easier than putting your fate into someone else's hands.
Well, and it's one of those things, too, where when you self-publish, you're on your own schedule. Like, if you get behind, that's okay. If you're ahead of schedule, great. Publishing houses, you're stuck to their schedule and their contract, agreements and all these things. Like, there's so much more pressure, and anybody who's a writer knows that creative juice has to come at the right time, where, like, your creative juices aren't flowing 3 hours before your deadline. But they have to be, because you have to write to have it in for submission. So the self-publishing is a lot easier as a creative. But the publishing house is a great experience. You really learn to understand the whole process and what goes into writing a book and why they do the things they do. And I think you'll make me a better author the next time I self-publish.
True.
But it would be very, very hard for me to agree to do another, like, fully published book, like, through a house publishing.
It makes sense, though, what you're saying. Like, I feel like it's the difficult thing to kind of force creativity when the mind's flowing, and when you're, like, even for, let's say, like a painter, when they have that passion and when they're excited to do something, they do it. But when you're like, okay, finish this by 6 p.m., you're like, okay, well, I don't have that flow, or the juices aren't going. So I completely get what you're saying. It's tough to kind of put on when, when the creative juices might not be flowing that day.
Absolutely. Wow,
it makes sense. Wow, that's I never even thought of it like that. See, I'm learning new things just by the first question with you. Okay, so obviously you're a social media expert. Your blog has won numerous awards. When did you find yourself, and how did you fall in love with social media?
So I fell in love with social media a long time ago. I was, like, back on MySpace back in the day. All my friends, so originally I'm from Canada, but I've been living in the U.S. for 15 years, so all my friends in Canada were on this thing called Facebook, and in the States we were on MySpace. So I got on Facebook relatively early because all my Canadian friends were on Facebook. So, like I was, totally obsessed with them early on, and, like, you see all your memories pop up from, 10 years ago on Facebook, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote that. But I loved it forever. I started Jenn's Trends in January of 2013, so about 5.5 years ago, as kind of a passion project. I was dealing with social media at my day job, and trying to get the older executives to understand and overcome the hurdles of social media and like to understand pulling back the curtain and transparency and customer service and all these things. And so my blog started with that passion of just being able to say, you know, this is what I've had to overcome and this is how I've learned how to deal with these challenges, and maybe my blog can help other people. And in the process, I was very raw and real and transparent and 100% me. I write the way I talk, so you can, like, if you've heard me talk, you can hear this inflection when you read my content. And it just really translated, and people started to really love it and started reading the blog. And then I started doing more social media because of the blog, and then it just kind of like snowballed from there, and I've just been obsessed with it ever since. That's
so cool. So it started as something that you were just passionate about, and then kind of like by you putting this passion into it, it led to something that more and more people kind of fell in love with. So not only were you falling in love with social media, as I'm assuming you learned more and more, but other people around you were falling in love with social media based on your blog and by following you, and I'm sure that audience just grew and grew. Now, did your first book, I'm assuming it came after you had success with the blog?
Yeah, my first book was actually The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Instagram, which is still the published version that's on Amazon, so it's really old, you guys, and I'm so sorry. I've just never gotten around to updating it, but it's actually, like, the lingo and the concepts are still the same, even though the screenshots are from legitimately, like, 5 years ago. But it was just kind of one of those, like, I already had the blog, and I was looking for, like, kind of a lead magnet, and I was looking for a way to get content out there. I kind of started to dive into the Instagram space, and there really wasn't a resource out there to get people started on Instagram in a very cohesive way. So the first book was essentially a need in that sense, that I didn't think there was that resource out there, but I was using it at the time as a bit of a lead gen tool as well.
Oh, that makes complete sense. And I feel like with anything, whether it's social media or technology related, if you write a book, at some point in the future it's going to be outdated, just because everything's moving so quickly and there's always changes to be made, and people are discovering new things. One year we had Vine, you know, and then the next 3 years later it was gone. So it is true, like as much as you would love to update every book, you know, and update every page, it'd be impossible because everything's constantly changing. But I feel like that's what makes a blog so special, because you could go back and look at, oh my god, in 2013, Instagram was at this phase, and look how much it's changed. I feel like that's such a cool thing, and I don't know if you've ever done that and went back in your blog and said, oh my god, I was writing about such different things than I am right now.
Oh yeah, and I tell people, so all my blog, I've never deleted blog posts. Like, so all of the original content, I used to blog 3 times a week when I started. Now I blog like once a month if I'm lucky. So the content has slowed down considerably, but I all those posts are there. Like, I tell people, if you want to dig that far back in the archives, you can read all those posts from, you know, 5.5 years ago, and it is funny because things have evolved and changed, and what used to be so simple is now much more complex, and strategies are more complex, and there's, you know, different ways of doing things. It used to be one option, so it's fun to look back on, you know, how it's evolved, and the blog is great for that because it's constantly an updated source. I can be updating content or posting new content, and really keeping people fresh and up to date with what's going on.
No, that makes complete sense. So now, as someone who I feel like I'm always posting about different authors on Online Book Club, and I feel like a lot of them kind of don't really understand the how important social media is. You know, and they'll say, well, I'm just not on there, I'm just not using it. As an author, and I'm not an author, but as someone who's also an expert in social media and an author, what piece of advice would you give to any author out there who's maybe saying, you know what, maybe I'll try Instagram, or maybe I'll try to put myself on social media?
I totally think you should. I mean, as an author, your name is half the sales of the book, right? I mean, people buy a book for the title or for the topic, but they also buy the book because of who it's written by. So, and social media is your chance to convey that personality, talk about yourself and your creative process and your books, and they get to know you. And when someone knows you, they want to buy your next book that comes out. They want to jump on the first release. They want to be there at the book signings because they know you and they feel like they have that connection. So social media is so powerful for that. It's really, you know, opening up, like I said, kind of pulling back that curtain, opening up that transparency. And I've always told people, you know, to tease books before you have them come out. Like, if you finished 5 of 12 chapters, release tidbits of those chapters. Start talking about the journey. Give those teasers. If you're writing like a murder mystery, like, set the plot, but, you know, get people excited about it before they've even bought the book. And then they can't wait to buy the book because now they need to know what happens in the book. If you're doing a motivational book, share some of those motivational pieces and those quotes and those little nuggets that when the book comes out, they can't wait to get their hands on it because they've gotten so much from these little snippets they've already seen that now they want the whole thing. So it can genuinely drive bigger sales and long-term results and really help. If you do want to get published through a publishing house, having a social media presence is almost a requirement these days. They want to know that you're going to do work to, promote the book and get sales. And to do that, you need an online presence. So that it all ties in to that kind of exposure and the chance to really build your sales down the road.
No, that makes such sense because it's almost like a free billboard, right? Because you could reach as many people as you really, and of course, I'm sure some people reach more than others, but you could really work to learn the ins and outs of social media and grow your following on there and make sure that they know, wow, this author is a real person behind this book, and I care about this person, so I'm going to check out the book. And I feel like a lot of people might not just be willing to put in that extra effort after they went through the rigorous process of writing a book, but it's so important because it doesn't have to be, it's not back in the 90s or the 80s or before we had social media where maybe you had to pay for a radio ad or you had to pay for a newspaper ad. You could really do your own advertising. I'm sure, of course, paying for ads helps, but you could really do a lot on your own for free. And like you said, it's all about really putting the effort. And I'm sure there's these publishing companies that want to see, oh, does he have 10,000 Instagram followers? Does she do Instagram lives every few days to really keep her audience up to date on what she's doing? So I think it's so important.
And that's the thing with publishing houses too, is unless you're a really big author, like unless you're a celebrity, you're not getting book tours, and they're not putting they're not doing any of the marketing for you. Like, they're expecting you to come in to market your own book.
Of course. So
if you're not an established author, there's no reason for the publishing house to do anything for you. They'll give you your advance, you write the book, and then they're like, hey, go sell some books. Like, they're not going to do it. They have how many millions of books out there? Like, they can't do anything for yours. So the social media allows you to have that platform where you can market the book and ensure you get sales, because you can't rely on the publishing houses to do it for you most of the time.
No, that makes, I completely agree with you, and I think if you really take matters into your own hands, you work your butt off, I feel like you really can develop a social media audience, but you have to be willing to put in the work as well. It just doesn't come to anyone. It doesn't come overnight either. You have to put that effort, you have to really lay that foundation. So for you, and I'm assuming you're going to be continuing with Jenn's Trends, but what is next for you? Is there any special projects you have coming up?
Right now I'm working on a couple things. So I have my Facebook group right now, which you go to Facebook and search for Jenn's Trends in social media. I have my Facebook page and I have my Facebook group. So my Facebook group is kind of like my new home. That's where I'm really I share updates and breaking news on social media. It's a very active group. And I'm actually working on a new membership program, which will also be based in Facebook groups that will be paid platforms. You'll have to pay to be a membership, but it'll be a group of us that do that. And we're going to provide 360-degree marketing support. So there's going to be multiple experts. We're going to do live sessions in the Facebook groups on a regular basis. Really just tie in all the training and the expertise that myself and these other experts have to make sure that those people in those groups really understand how to use social media for their business, not just in general, not just in theory, but for their individual businesses. So I'm super excited about that. And the first group for that is going to launch next month, and then we'll have another one coming out a month later. So that's kind of the new horizons. No new publishing in the works for me right now. I have a couple book ideas of things I want to self-publish. But with everything else going on this year, those have been taking a back seat. So maybe next year.
Of course, and I'm sure you as you continue with all of these groups, and please send me the links. We'd love to promote them. I'm going to be, because I think Facebook Live was actually having a little bit of an issue tonight. It might have been my connection, but I record everything on my camera. So we're going to be uploading this to YouTube as well. So please send over any links you have. We'll attach it to both of our videos on Facebook and YouTube, and we'd love to push people to your groups because it really sounds like you're doing an amazing job, and I could tell just by talking to you, you know what you're talking about. So please, it was amazing talking to you, Jenn. Thank you so much for your time, and you honestly bestowed a ton of knowledge on me, and even in just under 15 minutes, so I appreciate that.
Of course. I'm so grateful to have you invite me on the show.
Of course.
And yeah, I'll send you those links. And if anyone wants to reach out, let me know that you heard me here on the OBC show.
Perfect.
So I can be sure to say, thank you to Adam after the fact. He sends me all you wonderful people.
Hey, I hope I could help. So, Jenn, thanks so much for coming on, and I'll be talking to you in the near future.
Sounds good.
Have a good night, Jenn. Thanks again.
You too.
Bye-bye. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Jen. Honestly, just by talking to her, and I'm someone who I run a social media marketing company. Just by talking to her inspires me to continue learning and continue looking out into the world and finding new techniques, and then hopefully inspiring people to keep working with social media and keep utilizing it for their own advantage. Please, please check out all of Jen's links below. She's going to send me over everything. If they're not there when you're watching right now, they will be there very soon. Follow Jen on social media, follow her blog, Jen's Trends, and also check out those Facebook groups. There's a lot to learn in them. So guys, I will talk to you next week.